must construct additional pylons!
Hello and welcome back to the BearNet. This is Tyler, or Sands.
This is Jeremy, otherwise known as Ghost.
This is Alexander Wolf, also known as the guy with 17 million tags, also known as Greg, in our round.
This is Julian, also known as Hikage.
Who's not in our group for some reason.
I'm doing some module shit.
Sucks balls!
I was not prepared. Okay.
Yeah, you are not prepared.
Okay.
Yeah,
To be fair, this is kind of a day of not prepared because we're fucking flying by the seat of the pants here.
That's all I fly.
Go. We have
Is that
a
my
town
fault?
hall summary, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, it was another week of lack of real info.
To be fair though, the town hall summary is fucking huge.
Oh, it's gigantic, yeah. The problem I always have with the town halls and the way they do them right now is I'm interested in like, I don't even
1% of what's talked
I
about.
don't even want to say 20%. I'd say I'm interested in like 5 out of the 40 questions that get asked. And seeing as how all 5 are not like at the start or the end of it, it's like
somewhere mixed up in the middle with
Yeah.
shit you don't care about.
It's the second question and the 7th, and then like the 32nd, 35th, and 39th. And so there's no, I don't want to list all that. So I will just wait for notes, and I will be happy.
Alright, getting bored.
So, they've got a couple of things that are immediately happening on the 20th that we should probably gloss over at least, which are the 2 big ones will be faction grouping. So tomorrow for CW, you can anyone who's on your friends list that shares the same faction with you can queue up in a group, and you can all drop on a planet, regardless of if you're in the same unit or not.
That being said, make sure people that you want to drop with are on your friends list, or you will have the most difficult time.
Yes, you will. And they are breaking up the attack window into 3 separate windows. Right now, the attack window closes at about 11:15 p.m. Eastern Time.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and this has kind of, made Oceanic and European players feel like their contributions are being left out in the cold for CW. Like, what they do doesn't matter. So, it's being split up into 3 separate attack window times throughout the course of the day. The American time zone time is actually going to get pushed back to closing at about 1 o'clock, which is going to be a bit crazy for some of the American players.
Meh, I'm Mountain Time, I don't care.
Yeah.
I have to. Can I just interject here for a second? Because I
Sure.
just got to the most interesting thing on this list of giantness of town hall meetings. On the 20th, we're coming out with this, which, in parentheses, only in the gift store for the first 3 months. Afterward, they will release for C-bills. A new variant for each clan mech other than the Hellbringer, and a direwolf with jump jets. This will be similar to the mech packages, same prices as the other mech packages. There will be quite interesting pods. There's a direwolf or Timberwolf D with 2 PPCs and 4 missiles in each arm, and a Mad Doge with 2 ballistics in each arm. So that gauze Doge that people have been talking about, you can build it. It'll still be worthless because you won't be able to carry enough tonnage to make it work. But it will be available.
Right.
Sorry, I got a bit excited in my opinion.
That is...
It
yeah.
is.
I won't be running it.
Nope.
Nah. It would have been nice to have, but at the same time, not worth it. I just want to talk on one point on this discussion. Direwolf S, I believe, is the variant they're putting in. The fuck? Just give me the damn C.
Yes.
It has jump jets too.
But it also has ECM.
Shut up, Sans.
I think we're glossing over what's really the important thing about tomorrow's patch, which is that they will be.
Missiles?
No, that will be pretty awesome. I was actually going to go with the fact that they're opening up
missile point freaking Timberwolf.
Yes, I was actually going to go with the fact that they are opening up pre-orders for the Urban Mech. Thank you.
Urban Mech. Coming
Yeah,
soon to a toilet bowl near you.
Feel the colossal epic meh for me.
I don't know. I will be.
I have no
buying
love for
Urban
this
pack.
mech personally. It's kind of dumb.
That's
What do you
the
mean?
point.
You're not gonna play the biggest troll mech in the game?
Reactor online.
No.
It's supposed to be
Sensors
shitty
online.
and stupid. It's the
Weapons
urban mech.
online.
That is the point. That's the whole point.
All
But when you
systems
die to it,
nominal.
it's supposed to make you feel bad.
Oh
I'm
my
not gonna
God,
die
it's
to
gonna
it
be
unless I was
amazing.
gonna die to whatever I ran into next. The thing is gonna have like 5 freaking armor. I don't have a single mech that I run that can't kill it in one shot.
I think I just crashed.
You suck so hard, bro.
Bro, why'd that happen? Bro,
Yeah, this thing is dead.
Don't know. I hope I don't die.
did you refill your MWO fluid before you launched?
Yeah, dude.
I might
Did you
have
not
to
sacrifice a goat to your freaking god of PC?
Well,
Gonna have to run the
currently
repair tool or
you're
something.
running into. I don't know what you're running into.
But I'm running into something.
Well, you're currently. Oh, actually, you're just stopped. You're just stopped.
Yeah, you're good. You're fine.
Airstrike
You're just hanging out over there.
Ah, that's good.
Target acquired.
All right, so let's delve while Sans is useless and can't do anything but talk. So tomorrow we're getting 3 windows for CW, right? We're getting a Euro, a Oceanic, and a North America
New
time
target
zone, right?
acquired.
We all know we've seen a lack of as CW's gone on, we've seen less and less people partake in it. Do you think that
New target
expanding the
acquired.
time windows is really the solution to that problem, or is it a temporary fix to make people feel like they matter?
It's
I
a
don't-
temporary fix.
I don't think either of those are
New
the correct way
target
to say it. It's
acquired.
fixing one part of the problem.
Yes.
There's more that needs to be worked on than just that.
Such
It's
as
a good step in the right direction. The queue times are simply too long. They're too long.
That's also
And,
being separately addressed, though.
And I think that is.
isn't that partly due to the fact that people aren't playing it as much?
New
Like, it's
target
it's
acquired.
a compounding problem at that point.
Yes,
If your queue
exactly.
times are too long, but the game mode isn't really like. I mean, we've been playing it for
New
a
target
month or so
acquired.
now, and it's fun-ish, but then it starts to get a little boring. Now, what? This really doesn't fix the problem of it's still a little bit boring.
Fuel at 0%.
Well, yeah, but a lot of the things that are it's
Airstrike
boring
online.
for are simply questions of variety.
So, wouldn't the better solution to be work on the variety?
Well, yeah, but the people working on the variety and the people working on the simple solution of changing the time zone are not the same people. They have people working on the maps.
Airstrike
They have people
online.
working on some balance stuff. That's cool. But the UI guys who are actually putting in the easy fix of changing when the
New
battle
target acquired.
ends, that's easy stuff. That's something that someone from another part of their team can do
New target
fairly
acquired.
quickly compared to making a new map, which is a bit more of a intensive work, a bit more of a job.
New target acquired.
No escape, Commando!
New target
Oh my God, he-
acquired.
CT on Julia Wolverine.
The
Airstrike
Commando had a
online.
standard engine.
Fuel at
Full
25%.
strategy con.
We blew both of his side torsos off.
New target
Go
acquired.
away! Go away, missiles. No one likes you.
Lima.
Anyway, so yes, I concur with that. But what my problem is that's neither a Gauss or an AC-20.
That's a boss hunch.
Target destroyed. New target acquired.
Is the time windows really something that they should have made the priority that they did, or is there what could be done in the next patch or two
New target
to
acquired.
start bringing some more people back into the fold? Like what short-term solution could
I would
anybody offer?
I would
New
say that a
target
big issue right
acquired.
now is that it needs to be the game mode needs to feel lucrative to loyalist factions. Right now, it caters really heavily to mercenary factions. Then the mercs have all of these choices that loyalist factions
Don't get.
just completely give up. They don't get.
No.
You want to go to a faction that pays better than yours? Tough luck, you're a loyalist. You want to use your inner sphere mechs when you're a clan player? Well, you can't because you're a loyalist. You signed a permanent contract.
New target acquired.
You want to avoid getting smashed by one of these super units when they come to fight on your border? Well, you're a loyalist. You can't. You're stuck where you are.
Fuel at
And that's fine.
25%.
Loyalists understood that when they signed up for the for being a loyalist faction. The issue is that there's no trade-off. They don't get anything in return for making those sacrifices,
So,
which is extremely discouraging.
okay. All right. Well, let's back the talk truck up. Okay.
Fuel at 0%.
You have
target
more than
acquired.
100 million C-bills right now, right?
Correct.
Is increasing the C-bill or loyalty points bonus really going to be something that's going to entice you?
Airstrike activated.
No, but there are plenty of people
New
it does
target
entice for some
acquired.
reason.
Sure, I get that, but my problem is those of us who, like, I'm only sitting on like 10 million C-bills right now, but I'm starting to buy,
Target
like,
destroyed.
I have radar depth just sitting in my inventory that I'm not even using at this point, just so I can throw them in a
New
mech, so I don't have to
target
worry about them.
acquired.
Right?
I'm just buying stupid shit because I haven't need to buy a mech in like 2 years. That being said, I don't really give a shit about LP rewards or, you know, the amount of C-bills I'm getting per match per faction.
Ammo at
So
25%.
again, while that would kind of help
Target
newer
destroyed.
players that are getting on board the faction
target
tab, you know,
acquired.
trying to figure out
Right.
what faction to play for, those of us who have been around a little bit of a while and have most of the mechs and equipment we need or want, that still doesn't solve the issue of us not having really anything to do.
This is true.
So I guess my more specific question would be, for those of us who are a bit more tired, who have been around since, not even closed beta, but I'd say probably more than 6 months. I think probably at the 6-month mark, if you've been playing somewhat consecutively, you have pretty much all the mechs and, you know, things that you want and or need by that point. What could really be done to make those people be like, hey, I tried CW, it's fun for a little bit, and then I kind of got away from it because it grew into the same thing over and over. What could be the change that brings those people back?
Well,
Everyone gets a free gold mech.
Yeah, I
I'm-
know. Sans is
I
not in the
mean-
group.
How? Well, that's because I DC'd, remember?
I want no excuses.
So, it depends on... My answer is dependent on how Fairy Tale we're willing to get the solution. Like, are
Well,
we
let's
talking like
say-
a 2-week from now solution or
let's say
a 1
by-
year from now solution?
By end of March. So I'll give you 2 months.
By the end of March. They need to give pilots from both walks of playstyle, mercenaries and loyalists, something to do in CW that's varied, that is not directly connected to the border skirmishes. Something that they can do that allows them to spend time within the context of CW and get drops without having to loiter in a queue or play on the same map over and over again. If that is, say, setting up a separate queue that players from a certain faction can fight on, like, say, for example, for a clan player, having setting up a simple, say, trial of possession queue, so where you just click on a neutral planet that all of the clans can send pilots to fight on, and whoever wins the trial of that day will earn some bonuses for his faction, like, across the board. Something like that, that just gives pilots something to do that doesn't involve huge queue wait times and getting ground to bits by comp teams who are willing to sit in those queues.
Who are also getting priority in those queues.
Yes.
So you're more likely to
Yeah.
run into them.
And one thing that I will say, and then this is probably going to catch some flack from some of these people, is that one thing that PGI should absolutely not do, above all, is cater to the competitive teams in the CW environment anymore. If they do that, it will kill the game mode. It needs pilots.
Well, it's
of,
already
yeah.
near death.
they need pilots from the average and you know, in and around that area skill bracket to want to play in CW. And right now it caters entirely to the upper skill echelon.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I agree with that. But okay, so and I like that. I like where you're going with that, because I think that's a big reason those first 2 weeks, we used to run into pug matches all the time. I mean, it just happened. Now you never see them. It's well, us being Ghost Bear, we run into 228 or QQ as of right now. And a couple weeks ago we were running into other people because they all went FRR. But we're
not running into 228 right now.
Yeah, well, 228 went away, I suppose. So we're running into QQ.
Hold on. 228 fought us when they were fighting on the FRR border because that was what the game mode required. They were never fighting us when they moved to the Jaguar border. That's not something they did. So yeah, they just happened to be Jags.
Right.
But they never attacked us.
Well, I'm just trying to think of large units we faced recently. So 228, QQ,
and
Lords was in there, Night Scorn. We've had a mix and match. But anymore, those are really the only people we see. We don't see those big groups of pugs like we used to. Now, that being said, we've kind of gotten the same boat as those larger units where we're dropping with full 12s or we're not dropping at all anymore because we're tired of having the same thing happen to us. Now, that being said, do you think like an ELO system? I mean, we all know the problems of the ELO system.
It's just not possible.
New target.
ELO is not going to function in the context of CW.
Then what is a proper workaround to try and get those guys that are actually trying to play CW and trying to enjoy this new game mode, but get stuck with pug queue after pug queue and going up against 12-mans constantly? How can we alleviate that problem and put in a mechanic that makes that go away?
New target acquired.
I don't know. I'm a little distracted here. We're not fighting pushovers.
No, we're fighting QQ.
New target acquired.
Get his legs!
Trying. Left leg's gone.
I'm dead. I feel so brittle being an IS mech. I feel so brittle. I should probably check my my armor values.
This mech is so damn cool. I'm not really noticing
not having ER everything certainly starts to make a difference after a while, doesn't it?
I have nothing but ER.
Oh.
Well, you're playing that Thunderbolt. That doesn't count.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, you don't count that.
It counts just fine. It's in the game.
Hotel, get his CT.
He's down.
Banshee, Bravo, get his CT.
Lima in our backfield.
Right now, critical damage.
Down. Can shoot on my fire starters.
Yep, get his leg.
Working on that.
I'm
Good
down.
job.
He's legged.
Heat level critical.
And now I'm down.
Right leg.
I'm down too.
Well, apparently we were the last two to go down. Anyway, no, I like where we're going with that. So, here's is there a way around it in the current game mechanics? Is there like a maximum limit of like 4 people dropping in a queue, or is there some way to do a system that would allow people to go back and enjoy CW again?
That is a really good question, and it's not actually that simple to answer.
A couple of easy ways to do it is they're going to need to add better rewards to CW, especially losing rewards. Since ELO is not really something you can restrict in CW because the queue sizes are so small, you're going to have to find a way to keep players who aren't operating at that level of skill interested in the game mode. And if you can't keep them from fighting these teams that are going to crush them, then you have to make it at least bearable to get crushed by these guys. And right now, not only do you waste almost an hour of your time in a match that's completely one-sided and unfun, you also don't get anything for it. So I feel like if they're going to make CW something that has lifeblood in it and has a lot of players playing it, they're going to mean losing is going to have to pay off as well or better than just playing in the group queue. it has to be reasonable. You have to make, I would say, at least 300 or 400,000 C-bills on a loss, like base, just to keep people interested in it. Because waiting a long time to play is no fun. Getting smashed by a team that you don't really have a chance to beat is also no fun, and getting absolutely nothing for it, nothing to show for it, despite the fact that it's your presence that keeps the game mode alive, it's the straw that breaks the camel's back, in my opinion.
Does anyone else want to weigh in before I throw something out there that's completely off the wall?
No, any point I'd bring up would take like 20 minutes to cover, so go ahead.
Well, we've got nothing listed for the broadcast, man, so if you want to do a 20-minute point, you go right ahead.
No, I don't have anything that probably hasn't been said before, so let's go with yours, and if I still feel like it, maybe I'll give my 20-minute dissertation.
If they added a salvage system to CW, would it make it more interesting? And by that, I mean exactly what you're thinking, where if you, no matter what you take out, right? So as long as you kill a mech, you get some salvage reward, right?
Like random components kind of deal?
Yeah, components, like, you could make it components, you could make it 1/5 of a Mad Dog, you could make it, there's a variety of different ways you could do that. But what I'm saying is that would give those IS guys, they're getting stomped, down the road, all of a sudden, okay, well now I have a salvage Timberwolf I can bring in this match. Or all those clan guys that keep saying, oh god, the Thunderbolt's OP, the Thunderbolt's OP. You kill a couple of them, all of a sudden you can start bringing your Thunderbolts again back into CW. Now, would that be a somewhat complicated back-end system that they would have to track and figure out, okay, so you're a clan player, so you get all these clan mechs, and you are, 2 Thunderbolt kills away from getting a Thunderbolt 9S to be able to pilot in CW. Yes, it would be a somewhat complex system, but it would at least give people the idea of it's a more fair footing on each side and a reason to sign back into CW every day.
I don't know how.
Go ahead, Sans.
All right, I don't know how serious an overhaul you need to even do for this salvage system.
Right.
I am curious why they haven't actually just made the random salvage events that we had for Christmas and for Halloween just the bog standard. Like every match gets you a salvage point, and it can use the Christmas one for the solo and group queue, so it's just light, simple things, and then have a bit more weighted salvage table for CW. So it doesn't even have to be on that extreme. It's a simple solution that keeps people engaged because, well, honestly, it adds a little bit of gambling to the game, which is addictive.
Well, I'll tell you the bottom line why they don't have it constantly, and that's because there's MC rewards in those first two.
Then
if they
take
took
the MC rewards out.
If they took the MC rewards out, yes, I agree. I agree that would at least give people a bit more interest. But would that really solve the... What I'm trying to think of is a way where people would feel like they're earning something from every match they play, and I don't think that there is that right now.
So let's stop there for a second and add some clarification to this idea. First off, would that salvage mech be like a brand new mech that you get added into your mech bay, or are you thinking it's something more along the lines of if you kill X many of this mech or whatever, you get to bring your mech that you already own into CW, even though it's not your faction mech, just because you collected the parts?
Not going to do that.
Yeah, more the second one than the first one.
So it's
they are not going
I
to
already
do that.
own a 9S, which I'm running right now, obviously.
Right.
I've killed like 6 of them. Now
Exactly.
I can run it in a deck.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I'm going to have to say this. They are not going to do that. They have said over
the comp
and over
teams
again.
would already be like, oh, I can just run whatever the hell I want, because they've already killed
and
500 of everything.
they've already stated that it would basically... initially it wouldn't be a problem, but 6 months down the line, it will have basically just killed any kind of variety that you would see between the different forces.
So how is that any
variety.
different than the public queue or what's going on right now?
Yeah, you already have that in the public queue, and B, you already have that in CW as it is. You're just limited to your faction. At least now, you could bring that fire starter, and then maybe you go down from that Mad Doge in my deck down to a
Reactor.
or maybe
I
I
would
just
just
bring
take-
a Thunderbolt instead of another
two
Timberwolf.
Weapons
I would take 2
online.
Timberwolves to Hellbringer and a Firestarter 9A. That would be my drop tag.
I would probably go Timber, Thunderbolt, maybe stick with the Mad Doge and a Firestarter. Yeah,
Yeah,
That's exactly why they wouldn't do it though.
But
It creates
already
an
is that.
even more severe version of the min-max drop deck.
But again, isn't that more of a they need to fix the way certain mechs are, and regardless of... I'm not talking about trying to fix the fact that... Because we could do a completely other tangent right now about how the fact that even post-Quirk Pass, the game has settled into there are 6 mechs that are viable, and if you don't bring those, you will lose. We could do a whole other topic.
So hold on. Let me stop you there. Because that's always going to be the case in this kind of game. Like, there's no workaround for that. There's always going to be the 6 mechs, or however many mechs it is, and if you're not running them, you're doing it wrong. That's just a part of any game that has numbers involved, in which that, one side's playing against another. Hell, even in games where there isn't one side playing against another, it's just like you versus like the game, whatever. There's always going to be optimal and suboptimal choices. That's just the way it is.
There will always be min-maxing, but it is to the point that it right now where it's not even min-maxing. It's there are only mechs that you can bring, and there's not even a viable, like somewhat close secondary solution. What I'm like I said, we could go on a complete another tangent with the fact that a lot of the clan and the IS mechs are still, even post-Quirk Pass, nowhere near close to what they should be doing. But again, what I'm trying to figure out right now, or I should say we, is something to make CW more engaging again. Hopefully, with the second pass of quirks and some other changes coming down the road, maybe we'll start to see a better balance, and some of those mechs that right now are completely, I wouldn't even say out of favor, like not usable in CW, being that it's basically another form of comp. So instead of them being not usable, all of a sudden you could start to see some of them again. But again, that's not really, I don't think that's the question we're trying to answer right now. We could go there if you guys want to, but again, that's a, we already know they want to do a second Quirk Pass, they want to do a third Quirk Pass, they want to start evening some of that shit out. But, we just don't know where everything's going to end up after they get those things done.
So, first off, I just want to touch on a point here, is, unfortunately, there was a huge opportunity that was lost in CW. The basic issue of the way the meta is determined right now is largely based on the fact of the map sizes. It has a lot to do with the fact that you were forced to skirmish, you were forced to engage, and there's not really anything else you can do. Like, yeah, there's objectives, but either A, you built your deck 100% to rush the objectives, and there's just nothing your opponent can do, or B, you've just built yourself to completely kill the opponent, and again, there's nothing your opponent can do.
Artillery strike activated.
The map size actually constrains the different styles of play you can actually use. So right now you have Death Ball and Rush, which is basically a Death Ball variant, and that has entirely to do with the fact that I can, in less than 15 seconds, walk from any one objective to another objective, no problem, in like any mech, Direwolf included being the slowest thing in the universe. They could have just made the maps really big, made the games just longer, that's fine. Because this CW was supposed to be like the hardcore, you're fighting for something, so, sit down and play it. So instead of, like 40-minute matches, which could very been fine, like an average match could be 40 minutes, no problem. Even a rush match. We sit in queue for a half hour and either A, end up against a comp team and lose in 5 minutes, or run up against Pogs and win in about 15 to 20. Using one of two strategies. We could have had larger maps with different kinds of objectives, and just actually had role warfare applied, where having someone who's an LRM voting in like a good spot could support some light scouts or something like that, while they try and scout out this area to be attacked. Like, give us an opportunity to employ different strategies.
New target acquired.
So basically something that's been said before, even on this broadcast, where basically the game mode in and of itself, with it being not a very large size, not even maps, but we'll say the ability to do different things limits anything else that would be done with it.
Yeah, pretty much exactly that.
Target destroyed.
Okay.
I said show, by the way, Sans.
Then what
Thank you.
would be your second point?
Target acquired.
I totally lost you in a minute here.
critical damage.
Because I agree with you, and like I
Left
said,
leg
we've had that
destroyed.
same conversation
Right
before,
leg
where
critical
it's,
damage.
you know, given that CW was supposed to be this uber ultra game mode, the fact there's only 2 objectives, and one really isn't an objective, it's knock down the gates so you can go forward.
Yeah.
So you really only have take out
One
this
objective.
gun. Yeah, so you have take out the gun. And now they've added take out a couple generators around the gun so you can
Well,
take out the gun.
And that's all fine and good, but all the generators are within 20 feet of the gun. You can pretty
Right.
much stand at the gun and shoot all the generators.
Right, yeah. No,
So,
I completely
yeah,
agree
it
with that.
kind of reduces the effect of, like, it's an okay way to address the issue that it was trying to address, which was it's the fire starter rush, or just like the hardcore rush, kill the gun, nothing you can do. And it kind of addresses that, but not really. Because the people who are doing that can still do the exact same thing, and it just takes one more wave. It was only taking 1 before, now it takes 2, maybe 3, exact same thing happens. So yeah, sure, you extended it, yeah, the defenders are making a little bit more money, but they still lost, hands down, in a very short period of time. They just extended it by like 3 or 4 minutes. And it saddens me because CW could have been so much cooler. It could have been that game where suddenly the meta went out the window because now every mech type has a role. It could have been used effectively. There's different ways to employ your forces, and it could have really lent itself to organized play outside of the fact that, you know, you can organize rushes.
So, do you think that going forward in the CW-ness that we have right now, do you think that, you know, giving larger maps and increasing the map size and increasing the number of objectives and increasing the length of set matches to accommodate that sort of thing, do you think that would really solve? Because it sounds like, because what we've basically established so far in the course of this conversation, which has gone on longer than I thought it would, but since we have nothing else to talk about, why the fuck not? We've established that CW is sort of fun, but we're all kind of at the point where we're not even sure it's all that fun anymore.
Ghost.
In addition to that, CW, for, you know, newer pilots that aren't in large groups, pilots that aren't in competitive play, have found that it's been not fun since like week 2.
All systems
And we've talked
online.
about trying to establish, you know, a different set of meta mechs. We've talked about trying to establish a different set of queue weighting and the way in which that you know, the how you get into a queue and who will be there, and will it be a different number of, you know, will it always be a 12-man, or will it be, you know, 3 4-mans or a 6-man and 3 2-mans, or, you know, something like that. And then we've started talking about now where, how do we, you know, is it the game type itself that's the problem? But these are all reasonable thoughts that I think all apply to, you know, the current issue of the game. But realistically, I mean, I want to go back to the previous thing that I said, where what can we do, or what could, you know, PGI do by end of March that really would fix? Because we know we're going to get a new map sometime in February. Do I really think that, given the 2 maps we currently have, is it going to have 6 objectives and require 2 hours to play? No, I don't think it will. So I think that's already out the window as far as fixes to this problem in a short-term kind of manner. So is there anything else that could take place, you know, in a somewhat timely manner that would keep the... Because what Sam said earlier makes perfect sense as well. They've catered... This game mode caters to comp teams. It basically only caters to them, because it's not fun unless you are a comp team, or you have a full 12-man where everyone's taking it seriously and bringing those, you know, 6 mechs. So is there... I don't know. While those proposed solutions might work, I don't know if it's anything that's going to... Because at this point, it's not even really a game mode that most people play, I don't think. Like, I mean, it's hard for me to say, because like all of the 4 of us are in a, you know, what are we, like a 400-person clan now or something like that? So it's hard
350
for us,
or so.
Yeah, it's hard for us to, you know, 5, apologies, I've forgotten Naz's here now. Oh, greetings by the way, Naz.
New target
Hey, Naz,
acquired.
Hey, Naz, what's up? How'd you even get in here? I thought we locked the
New
channel.
target
he
acquired.
has magical privileges, I guess. Anyway, does that
New
is
target
there?
acquired.
I just don't know if any of those things can be implemented in a timely manner in which those guys that
New target
play
acquired.
and those guys that were playing CW when it first came out and realized that it's not really fun at this point. Like, what could really? I don't think those solutions could happen in a timely
New
enough manner
target
to bring them
acquired.
back in now, or even in the near future.
Well, I mean, I don't see any other
New target
solutions
acquired.
being any faster for it. I mean, it's gonna take time.
New target acquired.
The issue is, I don't think there's a short-term fix that's going to deal with everything. There's not going to be a neat little bow. There's no... The problem is... I don't want to go down this road too much, but the problem...
Definitely just clicked off my game.
We like exploring all of our roads, good sir. All roads
Okay.
lead to
So,
my happiness. So
I
let's
don't
go
want to
there.
throw this stone, but I'm going to throw the stone anyway. The problem is the game was kind of flawed from its inception in just the way it was put together. The difference between MechWarrior and a lot of other games, just if you go back, you look at the older games, the tabletop, the game is very slow and it's very deliberate. There's nothing fast-paced, there's nothing crazy intense about it. It's about planning ahead and being where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. The problem is, the game they've made is not that game. The game they have made is, I don't want
FPS
to say
with
this, basically yes, it's Call of Duty with mechs. And I'm gonna catch a lot of flack for saying that, but that's pretty much what was made. We are like 20 frames per second and about 30 kilometers an hour from being crap, I just lost the name of the game.
It's called MWO, bro. Alright, I need to get in something faster. I'm done.
Hawken.
Getting
We're,
destroyed.
a step away from Hawken at this point. Like, with the crazy fast lights and like super close range engagements, it's not what MechWarrior is. We have lasers that shoot like a kilometer's distance, but we're using them at like a half kilometer. Like, yeah, it's sometimes close to the kilometer mark, but on very rare occasions.
Both of those are like maximum engagement range. Like, most of the time, I'm using my lasers within like 200
300,
meters.
400
Yeah,
meters.
yeah, exactly.
You could pretty much reach out your hand and like touch the guy's mech, and that's really not what this game is. Like, it even goes down to like the whole super customization of like, this comes back to tabletop, the super customization of IS mechs. Like, you don't run into that. If you ran like stock mechs all the time, that would be a completely different solution. That would bring us a little closer to what it should be. Everything slows down a lot more. There's no crazy outfitting of metamechs and whatever not, but it was meant to be played on a much larger field, because being out of position is supposed to cost you massively tactically.
All right, so let me dive into that for a second. Now, are you
Shoot.
talking specifically about the BattleTech board game, or are you talking about previous iterations of the MechWarrior franchise, or are you mixing a bit of both together?
A little bit of both, because like,
I-
I've played a few of the older titles, and most of those maps are at least 3 times larger than the maps we're playing on now. CW
definitely.
included,
by
Alpine
far.
Peaks included.
By far, yes.
So it takes minutes to cross it, even in like the fastest
Well-
mechs you can get your hands on.
To be fair, though, the older MechWarrior games had absolutely horrific balance problems, like far, far worse than anything
They
that
did.
is in this game.
No, I can completely agree, and part of that was due to they were also trying to do different points of technology as well. So, I mean, by the time you get to Mech 4 Mercs, Mech Tech Pack 6, or whatever they went up to, where you've got light gauzes, heavy lasers, hyper assault gauzes, like you're getting, early jihad tech in the game, all of the previous tech's basically out the window. It's obsolete. And you basically had to equip, X, Y, or Z. And jump sniping was, we know that what the problems were at that point in the game. But I still think he's on to something, because they're trying to do a balance issue right now. And they're trying to make the game fun for no matter what chassis you're driving. Problem is, it's not fun no matter what chassis you're driving. It's fun if you're bringing one of 8 chassis. And so they're trying to address that balance problem. They're trying to, you know, they're doing stuff like that. But I still think Hikage is onto something with map size and positioning and lights. Okay, so the way you and I are using our fire starters tonight, would that have, I'll just throw this question out here, would that have ever been something you would have ever seen in a novel, regular tabletop, or a previous MechWarrior game?
Well, let's go to Sans or Ghost for this one, because they've been in the MechWarrior franchise a lot longer than I have. Because I'm going to say no.
I think the best thing that MWO can do is to stop allowing its choices to be dictated by previous MechWarrior games or the tabletop game. It's only going to hurt the franchise in the long run. There is no way to properly translate tabletop gameplay into MechWarrior Online. There's none. It's just impossible.
Yeah. Well, if
there
you
is
take a dice roll of accuracy and you're making it instead, can I aim a mouse properly?
And I will submit that the idea that the previous MechWarrior titles have something to teach MWO is nostalgia and looking at it through rose-colored glasses. I think that the only things that the previous MechWarrior titles can teach MWO is what not to do. There were huge multiplayer flaws in the previous MechWarrior games, like humongous. And you thought Pop-Tarting was bad in MWO 7 months ago? Mech 4, that was all you did, was Pop-Tart. Like, that was how you fought multiplayer in that game, completely. And there were no patches coming. And
Okay, so let me catch you there for a second. We can actually employ the accuracy thing from the tabletop in the game. It's been first-person shooters for
that
years.
Will cost
and I mean,
you
no,
players.
No. Well, no matter what you do, it's going to cost you players.
Well, but,
this is about creating this is about taking a chance and making a game that's its own thing, because right now we're moving closer and closer to Call of Duty and further away from MechWarrior.
Well, let me interject for a second in the fact that I think we're already losing players again. Like, I think I think CW brought some people back. I mean, we all commented on it. Everybody in this channel was like, God, I haven't seen him in a year. I haven't seen him in 6 months. Everyone got excited because this thing that everyone was talking about and like, it's going to be game changing. It's going to, you know, balance is going to shift and we're going to have something to play finally. It's going to mean something. There's going to be a galaxy map, greatness, happy J, joy, right? We all said that. And then we got it and it was fun-ish. And now it's the fun and the newness is going away. And we kind of realized it's kind of more of the same that we had before. So I don't think we need to be concerned about losing players. I think the overall idea is how do you stem the tide that is going away from the game mode that is the future of this game right now? Because that's the ultimate issue. Is CW is MWO. It just is. So,
well, I have an answer, and it's probably not going to be popular.
No matter what your answer is, it's not going to be popular.
Okay, one, game mode needs to stop catering to the competitive crowds. Yes, I understand that CW is hardcore mode. It is made for 12-mans. That's fine. That's different than the competitive group. Those are two separate things. The lore favorable units, like our own unit, CGBI, don't have a big stable of competitive players who play for the same reasons that guys like the 228 or Lords play. They're not the same. We can field a 12-man, but that 12-man's composition is going to be vastly different than it will for a Lord's team. And you need those lore units to be interested in the game, especially CW, because they're kind of like the core lifeblood that the rest of the game is going to be built around. The next part, and this is going to be the unpopular part, is that lore purists are going to have to accept that there are going to be things done to this game mode for the sake of balance and fairness and making it fun. Standing in an Atlas and taking pot shots at another Atlas with a cone of fire AC-20 is not fun. It is boring. And that will kill this game more than anything else. Yes, okay, the Twitch gaming is kind of done by a lot of people. But the thing is that certain elements of that Twitch game play get used a lot for a reason. They get used because it is fun. And yes, there is a place for strategy, and yes, there's a place for tactics, but to make those things the end-all, be-all of that game mode is just catering to those competitive teams. That's all it is, because those are the teams that can do Our teams are guys who got into it because they liked lore, or guys who got into it because they like giant robots, or wanted a kind of quick shooty game that was a bit more intelligent and required more thought than, say, Call of Duty. But
It does not really do that, though.
well, yeah, but the solution of making it more deliberate and putting Cone of Fire and other such things into there just penalizes those people more. It doesn't make the game better for them. It makes the game better for teams like the 228 and Lords who know how to do it. But these R12s like CGBI, our clan would be a ghost town in a week, because the game would just not be fun for people who are of an average skill level anymore. It just wouldn't.
Well, but that's taking the argument that it's fun for people of an average skill level right now.
Because let's face it, nobody of average skill level is enjoying themselves in CW.
New target acquired.
True.
They're getting their
and-
asses kicked by everybody who
Oh, wow.
actually takes the game seriously.
Target
I think
destroyed.
I'm lagging a bit here. Well, yeah, and I
New
agree, and I think
target
something needs to be
acquired.
done to change that. But I think what I'm saying is that some of the solutions that I just heard are going to
Target
make that problem
destroyed.
worse, not
Well-
fix it.
Okay, what?
No, I don't think it would be worse. It would just change the nature of the problem.
Well, I think
But
what you two are arguing is, basically one of you is arguing that it needs to be more popularist, and it needs to be more Twitch shooter-esque because that's what works and that's what everybody
New
plays,
target
because people
acquired.
still buy Battlefield and Call of Duty every year, even though it's a giant shit show and no one should ever buy the thing. I said that out loud because you just should, because it's a shit show of a franchise. Don't buy those things anymore. But the other argument
New
is
target
that
acquired.
being populars like that, and the fact that there's a new iteration every year, makes it so that this is not a unique gaming experience, and so that those people that are looking for something that is not your average shooter, this is turning more and more into the average shooter. And getting away from that may solve the
New
problem.
target
Now,
acquired.
I don't know which of those answers is more correct. I know which one I would favor, but I'm the guy who's read a majority of the Battletech novels, and I know where I stand in lore. I know that I'd want this to be a unique experience instead of just
Target
the typical
destroyed.
shooter. So,
Sans kills everyone.
is there? Is there a way around? Is there a way that's a compromise between those two, where the guy who likes shooters will pick this game up because he likes shooters, and the guy who doesn't really like shooters will pick this game up because it's different from most shooters?
Okay.
Or is that something that's mutually exclusive and
I don't
they
think so.
cannot
That-
be their own?
No, I think that is a very mutually exclusive idea.
I disagree. I think that the elements of the game right now that need to be worked on are strategic and logistic. I'm going to submit that the actual gameplay of MWO is extremely entertaining. I think that the mech-to-mech combat in MWO is the best mech-to-mech combat we have ever seen in a BattleTech game. The mechs are responsive. They maneuver in a way that is clearly different between the center torso and the arms, which is something that I felt has been missing from BattleTech games for a long time. There are varied loadouts, and when you get into the bigger mechs, I'm sorry, I kind of let my train of thought derail there for a second, but there's a clear difference between a light mech and an assault mech, and light mechs, for the first time in any Mech Warrior game, are actually viable to use in multiplayer.
Yeah, I think along those same lines as well. I think that this game has brought a lot of things up from the books that you can finally see as being
Yeah.
useful on the battlefield.
Yeah,
And
I
I think
think
that they nailed a lot of different areas.
Yeah, I think that the mechanics are very, very different than the mechanics in Tabletop, but I think more than any other MechWarrior title before it, this game has got the spirit of MechWarrior in it, and it feels better than Mech 4 to me,
Mhm.
honestly.
A couple more things could be done for immersive reasons, but
Yeah, we need things to make lore players feel like that they're not forgotten in CW, and to make their commitment to a faction actually pay off and reward them in a way that makes them want to keep playing the game. And we need a way to add strategy into the game that doesn't just cater flatly to super organized competitive teams.
Well,
And-
that's if you're going to add layers of strategy into a game, the more you do that, the more it caters to competitive teams.
Yes,
That's not.
I agree.
You can't work around that. It's physically impossible. You either make the game simpler, and then it doesn't really cater to anybody, or you make it more complicated, and it caters to the people who take it seriously.
I just want to
there's-
point out way to fail on that one, Alex. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Who was killed repeatedly, like before the match even started?
I don't care. All I know is
Round?
you just jumped jet into the corner of a bridge and you just stuck there.
I don't know, but personally, I feel like I did fine last match, so I don't know. Y'all can work out who dropped the ball there. or
Anyway,
what.
high
Yeah,
kick.
high damage.
Fuel at 25%. Airstrike
let's see where was it. Oh yeah, okay. So simplifying doesn't really favor anybody. Adding layers of complication or strategy to it favors people who take it seriously, and there's no workaround
Well-
for that. That is just the way it is. So you can make it more strategic, but all it's going to do is favor those organized groups more and hurt pugs even more, because the greater the complication of the map, what you have to accomplish, the harder it becomes for a random group of people who can barely communicate to accomplish anything.
Right.
Which is why Call of Duty is so successful. It is so ridiculously simple that the only thing that matters is how well you can aim your gun and how
Right.
efficiently you can kill the other guy.
Right, and I don't want it to be that streamed down, and
It is damn close. I mean, just look at Skirmish. It's the most played mode that we have. 90% of all pug drops basically come down to Skirmish. Like, there's objectives, but nobody plays them. It's basically Call of Duty with some things on the side where just killing the other guy's good enough.
Well, unfortunately, that brings up the question of which of these two ways of catering allows the game to survive. Because
Well, I have
community-
Black Ops from like whatever number of years ago. I'm sure there's still servers.
yeah, well,
So
what I'm
I
saying,
want a game that's not Call of Duty.
what I'm saying is that community warfare right now is not very Call of Duty. It's there's lots of logistics, there's lots of other things you have to consider while you're playing, and there's strategy in it as well. Get off of me. But community warfare is not being played. No one is playing. It is the comp team playground. It is the place where tactics and strategy and thinking in the long view are paid off. And
Really.
I-
It comes
I-
down
I-
to two strategies: either
a
kill
lot
the other guy
more
completely or rush down the generators. That's
compared
it.
to
Those are the strategies.
group and solo queue.
It's the same thing.
Target destroyed.
It winds
Well,
up to the same thing. It just takes longer because there's no max. I do believe we had a drop last week, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks, whatever, a while ago, where you said to kill them all to send a message,
25%.
and we did, and then we won. Big shot, killing the whole enemy team wins the game.
Warning.
Well, yeah, and I don't think that's really ever
Left
changed.
torso.
You guys push out
New target acquired.
before I die.
But that's the thing, is it's a completely viable strategy. If you are at the higher end of play, it is very simple to just kill the other team and then just win that way.
No.
Alright, well, I came out. I'm doing what I can for you.
No, it's my fault. I pushed out. Mistakes were made. I pushed out into the lava and
Mistakes
never
were
heated.
New target. Hit level. Warning. Incoming missile.
Alright, well, I feel like I'm pulling my weight at the
Target
moment, so...
destroyed. New target acquired.
Yeah, it was my best round, that one. I just ran and tried to kill a Thunderbolt.
Target destroyed.
Uh,
Torso critical damage. Target destroyed. Target destroyed.
Wait, I think everybody here would want to play a more complicated CW mode, though. Yes, I'm not incorrect in making that statement.
Oh yeah, make it as complex as you want to.
Like a 4 or 5 objectives. I'm not even counting the gates. The gates are just the thing you need to break down in order to go complete your objectives. Make it an hour-long match. But I still think, even with that, you can make a game more complex like that, and I think that makes all of us happy. But the guy who has an hour of time to kill between getting home from work and like eating dinner, or he just put his kid down to bed and he wants to play an hour before he goes to bed himself. Are we basically saying that CW should be a mode where that guy doesn't play?
Yes.
Well, if it's a mode where that guy doesn't play, then CW will die on the vine. There's just not enough comp teams to keep CW alive without that guy.
I mean, my only thought with that is CW, well, not even CW. The comp teams are kind of what kept this game alive for the last 2 years anyway, was the, private leagues, the fact, because all those, larger comp units have large numbers of members for them. They all have, a big group of guys that sign in and say, oh, hey, they're doing a new clan sale. Those mechs should be awesome, and even if they aren't, there will be at least 1 or 2 of them that are going to be worth having in my stable for comp matches. So yeah, let me go ahead and get that. So I don't know if saying that the comp guys can't keep the game afloat is necessarily the correct answer either, because I think those are the guys that did keep the game afloat for the last couple of years. It's just in simplification.
Yeah, I agree with that.
No, I would say that it was the lore teams that kept the game alive more than anything
else. Well, yeah, you can say lore teams.
They were kind of the...
Is large units with large bodies of people.
Well, that's
that
a different...
Those
are two different things. The comp teams and these lore units are not the same things. Let's say Lords, before CW came out, Lords was like 20 people. That is a comp unit. CGBI has always been big, and CGBI's people bought these packs when they came out. The same with like the Argyle Lancers and 12th Donegal. They're lore units, and the people in the lore units are not the same people that are in these competitive units. And right now, CW is not catering to those lore units, it is catering to the competitive units, which is a very small portion of the community.
I think the lore units were kind of like the glue for the situation, but I think that the bodies that were really doing things still in the game, that was the comp teams, because they were the ones that were building the leagues, and they were they were actively just pursuing their side of things. They might not have,
I would agree with that,
in every little thing, and been in every little situation, but they were constantly pushing to play. And the lore units had people constantly retiring because they got bored of the staleness of the current game at that time. But
true, I think it definitely is. It's more fair to say that it was the combination of both of these groups that helped keep the game alive, because the competitive players gave like lore and big unit players a goal or something to shoot for, or something to get excited about. And that is very much to their credit, but to say that it's the money coming from the comp teams that kept the game afloat is kind of not true. It was, I mean, yes, I imagine all of those competitive guys brought those packs, but it was still a pretty small portion of the community.
I have to take a phone call. Be right back.
What?
So that basically means PGI is favoring the wrong group of people, because the people who are really putting down the money in bulk is actually the lore guys, which means we are going the completely wrong direction with this game. And it comes back to my statement, in which we need a game that is different from the other games, because it's the lore guys who want that game.
Okay, sure, but different how is the question.
Right now, we are playing a mech Twitch shooter. This is not the only game in that genre. In fact, it is actually a new contender to that genre. this is a game competing with things like Armor Core, Hawken, and probably a dozen other games I've probably never even heard of or seen.
I'm sure most of them made in Japan.
Maybe, obviously. If we're talking about mechs, 90% of the time it's made in Japan. Occasionally it's not. Actually, I'm trying to think of the exception.
Yeah, and I guess I've kind of been the referee for this particular round, and I get what both of you were saying, of that the game needs to be popularist or the game needs to be more specific, and I just don't know, because I don't know if either solution really prevents the stem of people that are currently leaving CW, which is what this game will be going forward, to come back to it. And I just don't, I don't know if you making, because I think what we're basically saying is there need to be gameplay changes made, but the direction of those gameplay changes could go either way. And I just don't know which would be the more enthralling experience, because I want the guy who I talk to at work and I say, hey, you should check out, do you do some PC gaming? Yeah, I like to do some stuff, whatever. I haven't found any good games. Well, oh, you should check out MWO. It's kind of shooter-ish, but it also plays like meh. Even better if I could say, hey, it's a completely unique experience. It's a shooter, but it doesn't play like anything else. And I can't say that about this game right now. I can't, it doesn't play. It's kind of an amalgamation of like 6 things, and it's not really particularly good at any of those 6 things it tries to be. And I don't know how, in that conversation with, typical person A, that I'm trying to come, get into the game and be like, oh man, I've been playing for a month now and I think it's really great. I just spent, $60 on the game. Because that's really the ultimate goal, right? As far as not us and not having fun with our friends, but as PGI needs to make money for this to be successful. But if the guy comes back to me a month later and says, hey dude, I tried the game, but like a week in, I just found like I was getting stomped constantly, and just seems like there isn't really a good way for like new players to get a handle on things. And even once I did kind of have a handle on it, it doesn't really play different from any other particular shooter right now. You still
Right.
got airstrikes and UAVs and all that.
It's a game that falls into a niche category, but doesn't actually offer any of those niche things to go along with it. Hardly.
Yeah, basically. We are a step away from Call of Duty. This is World of Tanks with mechs.
So certain things need to get polished. I think that, again, and I've said this multiple times, the game in its current form is a great foundation, but there needs to be more to it. It has to be something that people can continue to sink their teeth into and have a lot of fun at. It can't just be the same old thing every time you drop into it. If they want the same old thing, they'll just go to, Call of Duty or something else that is far more polished at this point.
But here's the thing, is we're not going to see that thing. PGI has shown over and over again they're not willing to take the risks to make this a unique experience. They don't want to do things like asymmetrical warfare. They don't want to make the maps bigger for some reason. They don't want us to actually have the strategic style of play. They just want this Twitch shooter style of play.
But to be fair, I think that you're mixing things from IGP driven PGI and the current PGI. I think that they've changed their stance on multiple areas, and there's things that they want to look at in the near future, if not, the fact that they've already started delving into it and working on it now. People have talked about larger maps and stuff like that, and they've stated that they want to do that kind of stuff, but again, there's an order in which things have to be done, and it's not the largest company out there to be doing this to begin with. So I think that they're moving at a much better pace in the direction that we've wanted them to go than what they ever have, and that we need to make sure we continue to cut them a little bit of slack now that they have, now that the chains have been broken, they can actually pursue some of these more lore compliant areas that people, I think, that are more into the niche side of the game and the series are more familiar with. But at the same time, they can go to places that we've never had them go before, and accomplish things that we've always wanted them to accomplish. So,
See,
I think
now,
in time.
I gotta interject now because Captain Backpedal just went and talked for 2 minutes. So no, I gotta ask you specifically now. I get where you're coming from with that response, but honestly, which way would you rather see this game go? Would you want it to become a more niche, particular experience with Cone of Fire, with different sorts of take Ghost Heat away, maybe make a game mode where it's only stock variants, whatever it needs to be done to make this feel like a particular experience, or do you want it to see it as a more Twitch-based shooter like the direction it currently is going?
I think that they should offer all of those areas. I think a stock mech
Cake and eat it.
could be fun. Come on now. Think about it,
To be
though.
fair, they did announce that they're planning on putting a stock mech tab in the game, so you can actually have stock mech fights
Target
now.
acquired.
That sounds like fun to me. But
It does. But I am.
But they're gonna
going
have to. The problem is they're gonna have to introduce asymmetrical warfare if they're gonna do that. They're gonna have to separate IS from clan in queue. You're not gonna be able to do both because let's face it, stock clan mechs are just better than stock IS mechs. Just flat out. That's I can't even
Really
pretend like that's not the case. I will cede this to everybody. In stock mech battles at a 1-for-1 ratio, clan mechs are OP as hell. So they are going to have to introduce asymmetrical warfare if they're going to do that. It's going to have to be like 8 versus 12 to be even.
My standard direwolf with 7 million different lasers, guns, and anything else I want to throw on there will decimate your entire team. Yes, that's a fair point.
Yeah, so they're going to have to actually embrace a lot of those things that they so far have shown no interest and no willingness to even attempt. So if they're going to do that, it'll be interesting to see what happens, because I don't think they're going to introduce asymmetrical, they're not going to separate the queues, and there's just going to be 500 people whining about how OP clan mechs are all over, right? So, and they're just going to be like, oh, I guess this was a bad idea, and then shut it down.
Alright, but Ghost wanted to do his have cake and eat it too answer, so continue,
So let's hear from Ghost.
And then I'll make fun of you afterwards.
You did just hear from me. I said I want it. I want both sides of the game. I want to be able to play the Call of Duty side, and I want to be able to play the lore side if I want to. If I want to get into a stock loadout mech and have stock loadouts against stock loadouts, I think that's cool too. And then, as far as map size is concerned, I am all for huge maps. I want the strat in this game, and I think that's what. There's a lot of, especially lore players, I think a lot of those guys want it. But you have a lot of the COD type of players that want the 5-minute games, and they just want to kind of rotate and go through it, and they want to feel like they've spent their time, I don't know, wisely, even if they're playing a video game. I don't get really that whole point of view, the whole thing of, oh, well, if I'm spending more than 30 minutes in this game, I should have had like a dozen drops by now or something. I think that's crap.
Right.
No, that's absolutely crap. Like I said before, MechWarrior is a slow and deliberate game by nature. And I think that should have been embraced a lot more than it was. That's personal opinion. And it would have made it a very different game if you actually had to think about where your mech was all the time.
Oh god, we have a Highlander who's shooting LBX shots from like 600 meters.
We're gonna win.
GG.
Totally gonna win. Alright, so okay, Ghost, I'm gonna put you on the spot because you haven't talked at all today, and I want to make you my bitch for about 3 minutes. So here's the thing: the staff at PGI is not large enough to accomplish both, and I think I can say that without too much of an argument from you. At least within the next, we'll say 6 to 12 months.
UAV activated.
If you were Russ Bullock and somebody came to you, I'm your staffer, and I say, hey, we're losing people, CW was supposed to be this thing that's going to start bringing people back to the game, start getting people to buy stuff, blah, 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 improves bottom line, company things, 401k, insert money, Excel graphs, right?
Whatever.
Right, yeah. So, I say all these things, and I say, but it's not really the success we're looking for. A lot of people stepped away from it, blah, blah, blah. I want to do either X, which is make, this more twitchy shooter-esque, or why I want to make this more specific to the BattleTech franchise and BattleTech universe. And because our staff is limited into what the amount of gameplay changes that we can accomplish in X amount of time period, we can't cater to both. Which would you rather see?
I'd rather see less matches, but higher quality matches.
So you'd want to make this a more unique experience then?
Unique,
overall.
along with realistic, and I want to feel immersed. I don't care if I get one drop in a half hour. As long as it's a lot of fun, you know, as long as it's like, man, this is an awesome battle, you know, and a lot of strat involved again. You know, the time-consuming stuff usually is higher quality. It's just...
New target acquired.
I don't know.
No, I get where you're coming from there, because my thing for me, right, for this game to be successful, is that new player that's playing for it's his second week here, and he gets out of the battle in the last 45 minutes, but he's got a smile on his face, and he can say, God, that's something that I could never experience in Battlefield/COD/any other shooter on the market right now. And that's not something we're getting. And I think you can't go popularist to make that occur. Also, there's a airstrike. Oh,
and the thing is that they've already admitted to that, and they know that. But they know that that's also what a lot of these players want.
I mean, now that we've talked
I'm about to fall asleep in this match.
For most of the show,
Fuel at 0%.
do we, in all honesty, do we really see them going back and changing gameplay mechanics now?
No,
I don't.
absolutely not.
Target acquired.
Like I said, it's already too late. They've already developed their entire culture around this style of play, which means this is how the game is going to be. And at best, we're going to see a top-down change, but not a core change. So at some point, they might decide, hey, let's try this crazy thing and do big maps. They might do that someday. But we're not going to see stock mechs being like an all-the-time thing. We're not going to see cones of fire. The gameplay itself, like the physical way the mech handles, the physical way you play the game, will not change.
New target acquired.
I think that not seeing Cone of Fire is honestly a good thing. I'll tell you right now that if they introduce Cone of Fire tomorrow, I would go play a different video game. I hate that mechanic. I think it's a artificial way of bridging the skill gap between low skill players and high skill players, and I would not see it in this game. It's one of the reasons I won't play World of Tanks, and I think there are a lot of players who share that opinion.
I think World of Tanks' success would disagree with you.
Yeah,
Target acquired.
because there's a ton of people who play World of Tanks.
I mean, how many people is it now that have an active account that log in each per month? Like something like 10 million people. It's like old WoW numbers now. Yeah, it's a fuck ton of people, man, playing that game. So
log in every now and then.
I mean, that's the thing where even I've got an account that I'll probably still log in probably once every couple of months and see what new mechs and shit are out there terminating. And that has nothing to do with the, like you said, the Cone of Fire and the bouncing and, you know, stuff like it. But the thing is, that game doesn't feel like another shooter. It feels like it's a unique property. Like all, you know, I'm in a tank and it's, you know, it's still kind of a standard shooter kind of tank. But now all of a sudden, you know, my round, I could be putting in a perfectly good shot, but my round can bounce. Like, and rounds can bounce off of me. Like, I can set up, all of a sudden there's a strategy of putting your tank in a certain way and making sure that, you're always, about 30 degrees from your target. So when he's putting a round back at you, it's going to bounce off your front plate instead of go straight through. And that's not something, it makes it a gaming experience that's not the same as everything else out there. And I think that's the ultimate thing where they succeed. It is Cone of Fire, it is a bit limited in far as, customization. I mean, this game has it hands down when it comes in terms of customization. Like, there's so many things you can do with mechs, versus in that game, it's get the biggest gun, biggest engine, biggest, heaviest suspension you can get, and then, hit the win button. Assuming, of course, your rounds don't bounce off of it.
Sans is just cleaning up right now.
But
Destroy.
that being
That one's
said,
mine,
it
though.
still accomplishes something of being unique, and that's where I think it succeeds. That this game is not succeeding in that same element right now.
Good job, guys.
Kill secured.
Kill secured. Oh my gosh. I jumped it up to the top of that hill and then bonsai'd off of it. Didn't work
Nice.
too well. But it caused some disarray.
Cause general disarray.
General disarray. Maybe even some lieutenant disarray.
I don't think you got the South Park reference I was going for there.
Professor Chaos.
Professor Chaos.
For those of you just joining us, my apologies that it's been the ranting and ravings of 5 mad people this evening, but we really don't have anything to talk about, and so I've been poking the inevitable bear in terms of everyone else in the channel and trying to get them to say things. So,
Well, I think... Did you touch on what Odd Major said at all?
I did not. I was actually about to bring that up.
Okay. Yeah, trying to fix a few years of poor direction. Yeah, I completely agree with that as well.
But I still don't... I get the IGP blame card. I get it. I get that the game... I mean, I've said myself more than once on YouTube videos where you can go up and look at, listen to me saying it, that they have done a phenomenally better job since getting rid of IGP. This is a game... I mean, I'm playing it again. Not as often as I was about a month ago, but I think that goes back into the CW argument. Still... I like the direction they're headed. My problem is, how long can you continue to play the IGP screwed this up card and not do something to make this unique gameplay experience? Because I think that's ultimately
Reactor
where this
online.
game needs to go, that it doesn't have.
Sensors
Right.
Online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Well, let's see. I think...
And maybe tanks and infantry and, some of the PvE stuff they're talking about, maybe that will make it a unique experience. It'll
I
certainly make it
actually
more
do,
unique
yeah.
than it does now. I get that there are things coming to make that better. Like I said, from the beginning when we started this comment, I wanted to try and figure out a solution in the next couple months that could kind of stem the tide while they're figuring out what they need to do to get this
25%.
out of beta and get this on a forward footing of this is a fun game mode that you want to sign in, and you don't want to just get on and play skirmish for 4 matches. You want to actually play an hour of CW, which is currently not the case.
25%.
Sans, you were saying.
I forgot what I was saying. I crashed again, yay!
Because I ultimately, it sounds if you remember what you were saying,
Target
please
acquired.
feel free to butt in.
Right.
But I think adding infantry and armor and giving the the current guy with the star, the command guy, or I don't even remember what he's
Target
called at the
acquired.
moment in the game, giving him something to
Airstrike
do
activated.
more so than just have a star and move
Activated.
people around on lances would be a great way to improve matches. Even better if they added a 13th guy to the queue on each side, and he's just in charge of moving non-mech assets around. That would be awesome. It would be a whole tactical
commander
kind of
position?
That would be
That'd
pretty
be
battlefield,
awesome, dude. That'd be badass.
like an overview UAV guy. He's moving around all the armor, and he can call in. All the arty strikes on your mechs then are tied to what he wants to do with them, so he gets to put them wherever he wants, but you're adding more artillery strikes that he can call in, and then that takes away that whole oh, I'm still playing COD, I have a UAV and arty strike. No, you don't anymore, because now it's tied to your commander. You have the ability to deploy an extra, outside map howitzer or whatever as part of your mech makeup before the match starts, and now he gets to call it in at a vital point during the match. Whatever needs to be done to make that happen.
I like that.
think
I like that idea a lot. Adding
That
in
would be
a,
super
a
cool.
13
I'd be 100%
slot
cool with that.
would be amazing.
Did we just kind of solve the problem right there?
I think adding in
a little
a
bit.
formal drop commander slot would do a lot for this game to make it unique and to give it an alternate gameplay experience. There's you've got the whole rank and file mech warrior experience, and then you've got the experience of being the drop commander, which would be entirely different.
Target destroyed.
So yeah, I agree. I think that's a great first step.
I agree
if you
entirely.
can-
That would be. I'm totally okay with that style of play because it's something completely different. And that's
not
really
only
what we're looking for.
not only that, that would also kind of help the pugs, because now all of a sudden you get a 13th guy. Even if he's not all that experienced, he could still,
Target
on his
acquired.
overlay of the map or whatever, still be like, okay, I saw, my 2 ravens that were scouting saw like a group of 6 of them here. He makes a big X where most of his forces are on the map, draws a line, and then he says, hey, go over to here. There's multiple mechs, and he can communicate with everybody there. They're saying they want to get VoIP in some form in-game working by mid-February. So that's already a system that could be in place where you could then talk to that battlefield commander, and he could give more direct orders and communicate better